So McLaren, for example, are in Formula One, and they're in IndyCar at the moment as well, doing all right. Alpine, kind of newcomers to Formula One next year. They're in WEC as well as Formula One, World Endurance Championship. That's cool as well. Decent. Red Bull as well, Formula One, and in pretty much every extreme motorsport. That's okay. That's impressive. But all of these absolutely pale in comparison to who I'm going to be talking about today. A company that turns out actually a surprising amount of people who follow me on Twitter, who is mainly people who follow my YouTube, haven't even heard of. There is a single constructor, a single manufacturer, a single organisation who operates within IndyCar, World Endurance Championship, Formula 3, Super Formula, European Le Mans Series, Formula 2, Formula E, and Formula 1. Yes. If there's an asphalt pie kicking around, you can guarantee these boys and girls have got their fingers well and truly stuck in it. Today, I'm going to be talking about Dallara. And why do I think that a lot of you have never heard of them? Well, like I like to do, I put the shout out on Twitter to see what level of knowledge everyone who follows me has of Dallara. Over a third never heard of them at all, and about 60% had pretty much no knowledge of Dallara. Dallara are massive, absolutely massive. Dallara don't just stick their name on a car and let it go off into the sunset. No, quite the opposite. They very rarely have their name on the car. But my words, they're the brains behind many a motorsport series operation. So sit back, give me about 10, 15 minutes of your time, get a drink, maybe a nice little snack, and let's have a little chat about Dallara, shall we? So, like any good company profile, we've got to talk first and foremost about the individual behind it all. And that is Gianpaolo Dallara. Established the company in 1972 in Verano di Meligiari, Parma, Italy. Born on the 16th of November 1936, he studied aeronautical engineering at the Polytechnic University in Milan. Now this is pretty mad. Within a 4-year period from 1959 to 1963, so from the ages of 23 to 27, he went from Ferrari to Maserati and then to Lamborghini as chief designer at 27, the same age as this mug. He was chief designer at Lamborghini at 27. Way for making a guy feel like a colossal letdown. And Gianpaolo, in his 20s, was technical director at Lamborghini of the team responsible for producing the Lamborghini Miura. In his 20s. What a don. Little bit of F1 insight here. In 1969, he teamed up with Frank Williams to help co-design his F1 car at the time, the Di Tommaso 505/38 that raced during the 1970 F1 season. But obviously by 1972, he decided, I'm going to go it alone. And I rate this. He brought it back to his hometown, to his native Parma. Little small team, just 3 of them, working from the family home when they established Dallara Automobili in 1972. So the early days of Dallara, well, of course, like any business, you dabble a little bit at the start. And they dabbled in a few different projects at the very beginning, sports car racing and hill climb chassis predominantly at the start. Gianpaolo was even consulting still a little bit with Williams in 73, helped redesign their rear suspension, apparently. Now, what's noted on the Dallara website as their first car that they've produced is the SP1000, not the SF1000, to be mixed up with the current absolute box of a Ferrari. 3 seats, still monocoque, looks like some retro spaceship. Actually, when I was doing research and I was looking for images for this, I found an amazing bit of work from a 3D artist called Guillaume Mazerol, who did an incredible job of making this 3D render of the SP1000. Link in description. It was, however, in Formula 3 where Dallara really started to kind of proper establish themselves, proper get a little bit of a name for themselves going. In 1978, they developed the Dallara 378. And long story short, from pretty much then on in, Dallara just absolutely dominated. You had other people who produced chassis like Lola and Swift, but ultimately Dallara just absolutely bossed it. And of course, this success did not come by accident. No, there was a plenty of innovation at the heart of Dallara's success. They were the very, very first company to produce a wind tunnel with a moving walkway. Obviously very helpful for the development of their chassis. That was in 1984, and then a year later in 85, they were the very first organisation outside of an F1 team to develop a carbon fibre monocoque chassis. Again, big moves. Now I'm an F1 channel, so let's talk about Dallara and F1 for a bit, shall we? Their F1 escapades began in 1988 with the Dallara F188 that was raced by Alex Caffey for the BMS Scuderia Italia team. Lasted 4 years, the partnership, till 92, and 2 third places along the way. Going to always be difficult to battle with the Williamses and the Ferraris and the McLarens, but fair play. Won the clock forward 7 years, and in 1999, many of you may not have heard about Honda's kind of secret car development that was going on in 99. This is way before the Brawn situation. And Dallara designed the chassis for that test car, that test mule that Honda put out in 99. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a great vid the race did a couple of weeks ago, all about it. I'll link that in the description as well. Give that a watch if you ain't got a Scooby what I'm talking about. That obviously fell through, but then in 2006, they were meant to be drafted in to build the Midland car, which was the team that took over Jordan. But Midland ended up going with a revised version of the Jordan's chassis that they'd inherited anyway. And yes, I am talking about the Jordan that then became the Midland, that then became the Spiker, that then became the Force India, that then became the Racing Point, that will now become the Aston Martin. Jump to 2010 now, a team many of you will have heard of, Hispania. Didn't do very well, but their chassis was designed by Dallara. Part of the reason they didn't do very well was because there was no car development throughout the season, because there was some, I'm not going to say they didn't pay Dallara, because I probably can't say that, but there was some kind of financial miscommunication. Let's just call it that. And then, of course, we come to Dallara's most recent involvement in F1, the fact that they built the Haas and have been building the Haas and the chassis. Haas have been using their facilities to produce their car since they joined the Formula One circus in 2014. I actually found a few nice quotes from a Peter Windsor interview with Günther Steiner in 2018 regarding the partnership with Dallara, just to kind of clear out exactly how this relationship works. Günther said, Formula One in these times is so difficult to start from nothing. You need a lot of money, a lot of bigger infrastructure, which obviously costs a touch. A lot more people and resources. We would have spent a lot more not being assured of the little success we've had up until now. We still design the car with our people, but with help from Dallara, and they produce it. Let's not forget, yes, Haas have had a bad last couple of seasons, let's be honest. They're not very good at the moment, but 2016-17, they were doing all right. They were very, very much in the midfield, and at times there's been little shreds of glimmers, very small glimmers at times. For Haas to build the car from scratch themselves would not have been financially sensible in any way, shape or form. So it made a lot of sense. But again, Dallara are operating as more of a supplier to Haas than anything else. But they do produce their chassis, and Dallara do supply a few other teams and have supplied a few other teams over the years, just because when it comes to you want to get a part made and maybe you don't quite have the facility yourselves, Dallara is the people you're going to go to because they're just donning it. So where are Dallara now? Well, again, let's just talk about everything they're involved in at the moment. I'm sure I'll miss a few bits because it's just ridiculous. So they've produced every chassis for IndyCar since 2007, winning 17 out of 20 of the Indy 500s they've ever competed in. Oh, and don't forget Indy Lights as well. They're all over that. In fact, their only facility outside of Italy, in Parma, is their US headquarters in Indianapolis. Very impressive building. Would love to visit one day. They've also produced every chassis for Formula E since its inception in 2016, Gen 1, 2. They've produced every Super Formula chassis, the SF14 and now the SF19 since Formula Nippon became Super Formula in 2013. They produce every single FIA Formula 3 chassis since GP3 was founded in 2010, plus pretty much every F3 series globally, because again, that's their bread and butter. That's where they kind of started. And of course, they produce every chassis in Formula 2 and its previous incarnation as GP2, since that started in 2005. That was in place of Formula 3000, in which all the chassis were developed by Lola back then. Dallara started in sports cars properly, kind of in the early 80s, and right now they still have a car competing in LMP2, the Dallara P217, and again, that competes in World Endurance Championship and European Le Mans Series. Again, with sports cars, the absolutely iconic 99 Toyota GT1. I know a lot of you will recognise this car from Gran Turismo, and the 2003 Audi R8 prototypes, both from Dallara. KTM Crossbow from 2007, a Racer Champion stalwart, was co-developed by Dallara. And finally, in 2017, they produced their very own road car, one of them without a windscreen because, pure driving experience, the Dallara Stradale, which was in commemoration of Giampaolo's 81st birthday. Like I said, the full range is just ridiculous. There is a list on Wikipedia. I will link it in the description below. If you're interested in seeing every single car that Dallara have produced in motorsport over the years, give that a butch. I'm going to wrap it up now because this has been a long one. So thank you all so much, as always. And I always say this, and I know it probably doesn't sound genuine anymore, but I do honestly, I'm so appreciative of all the support because this has just opened up a whole new world to me over this last year. It's crazy, almost 100k. The plaque, I just want that bloody plaque, not gonna lie, I really want the plaque. You know how to support the channel. I don't need to tell you to like and sub and all that stuff. You know exactly what you need to do if you want to support my stuff. Affiliate link for F1 Store below as well. If you want to buy any stuff, then give that a click. Why not? Follow me on Twitch. I like streaming in the evenings, playing Fall Guys most of the time. All that good stuff. This is the Tommo F1 YouTube channel. Thanks again. Have a good one.